Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway. Welcome to Building Wealth Together, where our goal is to help you walk in abundance and leave a legacy. It's Wealth Building Wednesday, where we answer your money questions with style and grace. To ask your question, go to buildingwealthtogether.com and click Ask JJ or leave a voicemail at 1-833-4-ASK-JJC. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, it's JJ with a disclaimer. I'm in the process of retiring from the military and moving, and so I don't have access to my studio right now. So if it sounds like I'm broadcasting from an empty house, I am. So for a couple weeks, you might have some issues with the sound quality. Please be patient with me, and please stay on the line. I'm going to do the best I can to deliver you quality content despite the echoey background. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey everybody, it's JJ Conway. Before we get to our first question today, I want to talk a little bit about car leases. You know, I love the way that Dave Ramsey calls them fleeces, because that's really what's being happened. You are being fleeced every which way. With a car lease, what you're basically doing is you're renting the car, and at the end of that, there's all these stipulations and mileage and wear and tear and all these different things, but the bottom line is you get to use a nice new vehicle, but the dealer gets to line their pockets with your hard-earned money. And at the end of your fleece, generally speaking, the car is not worth what you'd have to pay for it in order to keep it. All right. So we want to avoid those. We want to save up and buy our cars outright. And the reason I'm prefacing today's question and answer session with that is because of our first question today. It says, I just sold my home and turned in my fleece car. Whoop, whoop. With the home sale, I was able to pay off all my outstanding balances on medical bills and credit cards. I have $15,000 left over. I want to buy a car for $5,000, which will leave me with $10 left. And I want to keep my $1,000 emergency fund and will set it aside. So my total balance in the savings will be $9,000. I went from having $196,000 in debt, home, student loan, credit cards, and medical bills, and potentially filing for bankruptcy, to now only $38,000 left on the student loan. Whoop, whoop. Can we get a whoop, whoop for this person here? All right, congratulations. You are making it happen. This person says that they did this in 7 months, and they're wondering, should they put the $9,000 towards the student loan now or keep adding money to the savings account every month until they save up the full amount to make a lump sum payment? This is a fantastic question. And I am going to resist because y'all know it's building up. Y'all know it's building up. I'm feeling the urge to go on a rant against college loans. Oh, you know I hate them with a passion. But we are not going to go rant on college loans today. Today, I'm simply going to say the answer to your question is it depends. So what does it depend on? Well, it's going to depend on a couple of factors. The first thing it's going to depend on is what do your loan documents say your agreements are. Some loan documents have prepayment penalties, and while some of them are worth it, some of them aren't. It's like when someone talks to me about cutting their cable, and I'm like, okay, well, cut your cable and you can save $250 a month, or drop your cable package. But I'm a big fan of just cutting the plug and getting out of debt, right? Because there's a lot of free ways to get entertainment. Anyway, I'm not going to get on that rant either. Boy, I'm bubbling up on rants. Maybe we just need to have a JJ rant session. Wait, that's what I do 3 times a week on my podcast. Wait a second. Never mind. Okay. Back to the question. Like if you cancel your cable and they are going to give you a $100 penalty. Well, if you're going to save $1,000, it's worth the penalty. And so some unscrupulous college loans are going to have some super steep penalties for prepayment. And I think the sneakiest one I've ever seen is that if you pay in advance, and this is not a federally backed loan, this was a privatized loan. If you paid in advance or if you tried to pay it off early, they jacked up your interest rate or something like that. And so so if you had that kind of loan, well, then of course you'd want to just save up the amount and then pay it off all in one chunk, because if they levied a higher interest rate on you because you're trying to actually do the right thing, well, then you won't have to worry about it because it's paid off. Okay, so the answer to that question is really it depends. It's also going to depend. And this is in this time of COVID and pandemic, I'm actually making some qualifiers on this. It's also going to depend on how stable your career is. And I'm not just talking about having a good government job, because many of you will remember in 2013 when a lot of government workers had their pay cut. Some people got furloughed. Now, not every agency did this. In fact, the Department of the Navy, I don't think, did this. Some agencies in the Air Force had some leeway, but I worked for a national level agency that they flat out furloughed people and cut their pay by 20%. And these weren't $2 an hour workers. These were people who were making these were scientists and engineers who were making $150,000 a year. 20% pay cut with nothing they can do about it really hurt, right? Because they couldn't just go get another job. There weren't jobs to be found in their fields. So it's really going to depend on your outlook for your career. Do you think your career is going to be sustainable? Because if it's not, here's what I'm going to tell you. If there's any glimmer of furlough, any glimmer of your industry not recovering, then I'm going to encourage you to actually keep that money in savings and continue attacking the college debt the way you've been attacking the other debt. Kudos to you on an amazing ability to pay off all of that debt in just 7 months. You are my shero. Okay, next question. This next question tugs at my heart a little bit because as a real estate investor, I know it's possible to help this person. Unfortunately, I was not able to get a hold of them fast enough, but I'm going to share with you their question because I want to give you hope that you don't have to file bankruptcy even if your house is up for sale in the next couple of days. There are ways to solve the problem. All right. So I'm going to read this question. I'm going to talk about the answer in a general sense, and then I'm going to kind of poke a little bit in the eye of the person who wrote the question. I hope they're listening because I wasn't able to get a hold of them. But here's the question. My house is up for sheriff's sale a particular Tuesday. They sent this message Friday, and the house was up for sale, sheriff's sale Tuesday. I spoke with the bank, and they're not willing to work with me. I've got 0 credit card debt, surprisingly have a 700 credit score, despite the delinquency on my mortgage. After filling out a loan modification packet and learned that I have several $1,000s left after paying all bills and mortgage, I'm employed and make approximately $185,000 a year. I just wanted to talk to someone before I declare bankruptcy just to stop the sheriff's sale. Can you please call me to discuss? Okay, now I looked at the zip code that this person is in, and I'm not going to, protect people's anonymity, but when I looked at the zip code this person's in, with their income and their credit score and the results of their loan modification packet, this particular person doesn't need to file bankruptcy to solve this problem. Now, this person may need to call in a few favors for a friend if they want to stay in the house, or they could quickly sell it to an investor if they're okay with moving out of the house, which is often the right answer. If you can't afford your house payment, a lot of times the right answer is to drop down in house. And it's not fun, y'all. I understand that it's not fun. In fact, we made a decision for family and health reasons to move to a particular location where I'm having to drop down from my big, beautiful house to a tiny little 1-bathroom house, y'all, sharing 1 bathroom with 3 guys. Oh, let me tell you what, I'm buying a lot of poopery, that's for sure. So I get it. It's a temporary move, and I hold my vision for the future. But this is the decision that we needed to make for the family, and it was the right decision. We already see the fruit of that decision bearing out in the family. So we know that this was the right decision to do. And I know it's never easy, but if you can't afford your home, then it may be time to consider other options and making another home, one that's affordable and one that you don't have to stress about, and one that isn't breaking down all the time, So if you find yourself in this kind of a situation, and again, I think the person who sent this, the reason they probably didn't return my calls is probably because they found a solution and they didn't need my help after all. But I think that person probably was not trying to file for bankruptcy because they genuinely couldn't pay their bills. They were probably trying to file for bankruptcy because whatever situation happened, they thought that bankruptcy would be an easy pill or easy button to make all the headaches go away and still keep everything they want in life. And that's really not how bankruptcy works, okay? Bankruptcy, and especially bankruptcy lawyers And this is, let me qualify, this is not a rant against bankruptcy lawyers. I love bankruptcy lawyers who do good things. I'm so appreciative of the bankruptcy lawyer that helped my dad keep from losing his home. Okay. And that guy was so gracious with us when I explained that my father had passed away and we're not going to be able to continue paying his bill because there's nothing in the estate. And me and my husband decided that anything that we could get up together, we were going to just send him a check just from us, because we appreciated, when I went through all the records and talked, I appreciated how wonderful they were with my father. Okay. So this is not a rant against bankruptcy lawyers, but bankruptcy lawyers are like everybody else in business. We're all in business. We're all trying to make money, and whatever your problem is, we think we can solve it. Any problem you got, JJ Connery's going to tell you, I can help you solve that problem with money management and wealth building mindset. Right. Okay. That's just how the business goes. But a lot of times, people come to me and these lawyers have told them, they're not as scrupulous as the one who worked with my dad. These lawyers have told them, oh, I can make all your problems go away. Pay me $2,500. I will file the paperwork. You get to stay in your home, keep your house, keep your cable, keep your kids, keep everything. Life is perfect, and I make all your money problems go away. And that's not how it works. What you end up doing is you either end up doing a repayment plan, which I can help you get on for free, right? Or you end up having to sell off stuff to satisfy the things. You either you have to liquidate or you have to payment plan. That's what happens. And let me tell you, when people file bankruptcy thinking it's going to be an easy button, they find out that the cycle continues to repeat and repeat and repeat. And the reason that the cycle continues to repeat and repeat and repeat is because they have not solved the actual problem. See, the actual problem has to be addressed. What is the problem? Why are you in debt? Why can't you pay your house bill? Sometimes the problem isn't your fault. Not saying the problem is your fault, but it's there. And we got to do something about it. Because if we don't do something about it, it's going to color the rest of your life, and it's going to degrade the rest of your life, and it's going to be hanging over your head the rest of your life. And what we want to do is we want to move forward. We want to have a healthy, happy, fulfilling life. We want to walk in abundance. This bankruptcy, this just puts you on a cycle of walking backwards. And it can spiral you downhill. And 10 years from now, you'll be calling me again. Hey, I'm about to file bankruptcy. Instead, let's deal with the problem. Okay. Now, sometimes problems are health issues. Sometimes problems are loss of jobs. Sometimes the problems are death of a spouse. There's a million other reasons other than it's your own fault. You're a bad person. Okay. So when you call me, I don't jump to you're a bad person and you deserve what you get. Right. I mean, I didn't deserve $845,000 of divorce debt. Nobody does. All right. So there's no judgment here, but I'm going to tell you what, I'll tell you one thing I am going to judge. I'm going to judge whether or not you're willing to take action. And if you were to come to me today and it's Friday and you were going to say, my house is up for sheriff's sale Tuesday, 9 times out of 10, what I'm going to do after we sit down and look at your finances and we look at what caused the problem and what your ability is to solve the cause of the problem, resolve it and move on. 9 times out of 10, it's not something that can be resolved in the next couple of months. And your best option 9 times out of 10 is going to be to sell it to an investor who will close on the property quickly. They will get it caught up and keep it from going to sheriff's sale. And yes, you have to move out, but you don't have this blemish on your record for the next 7-10 years. Okay? And you don't have all of the second and third order effects of having a foreclosure or sheriff's sale or fill in the blank on your record for the next 7 to 10 years. See, it's not just the moment we have to think about. We got to think strategically. We got to think long term. And so when somebody comes to me like this, there are ways for investors to come in and help you. And this is why you want to work with somebody who's reputable like me, because I only deal with reputable investors. So I had somebody come to me the other day and she was able to borrow some money from friends, which I really wasn't a big fan of that, honestly. I had other options for her, but that was the option that she decided to roll with, and she was able to keep her house. I worked with her for a couple months, but she was on disability, and she just literally could not get out there and earn more. She might do $100 here or there for babysitting, but it really depended on her illness, whether she was able to actually work, right? And so we set up together and come up with a budget plan, and we were able to do what she needed to do to keep her house. But if she wasn't going to be able to do that, then I had a network of people who could come in there, get the house, pay her something to move, and help her get established somewhere else that was more affordable. Because quite frankly, I think the place that she was living was still a little too high, but she really wanted to stay there, and she was able to figure it out, and she was able to make the adjustments that she needed to make. Now, those are the kinds of things that a reputable financial planner can bring to the table for you. So if you are in this situation, please, please, please reach out to me. Book your no-cost consult, okay? And we will get you through it. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to lose hope. There is hope. You can get through this. When someone comes to me saying they want to file bankruptcy, I always ask them, give me 2 months. Work my plan for 2 months, and let's see if we can get you on the right path. And so far, I haven't had anybody who's been committed to this plan that had to file bankruptcy. And I've been helping people win with money for 20 years. So don't ever feel like that's your only option, okay? I can help you avoid bankruptcy. I can help you dump debt. I can help you build wealth. And I can help you leave a legacy that impacts your family, your community, maybe even the world for generations to come. All right, next question. What do I do about heavy student loans? Oh, ho, 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 ho. I feel the student loan rant trying to come up, but I have rule over my spirit, so I am tamping it back down. All right, the best thing to do about heavy student loans, 1, don't take them. Okay, but since you already took them, we need to pay them off. And we do that using the baby step system. I love the baby step system. Some people say, oh, it's not mathematically correct. Well, I'm telling you, if you knew about math, if you cared about math, if you didn't let your emotions override the logic of math, you wouldn't have heavy student loans, okay? So I recommend you do the same thing you would do for any other debt. I recommend you would just line them up, smallest to biggest, start knocking them out smallest to biggest, and keep rolling down those payments until you get them knocked out. Now, if the question is about whether or not you should bother trying to pay them off or wait for the qualifications to get your student loans forgiven, that's going to depend on the quality of the forgiveness program that you're in. Some employers have actually really good forgiveness programs, but I would still do what you can to start saving up because you don't know if you're going to be with that employer for very long. But these federal and state programs, you can forget about those, okay? They're ridiculous. They make all these grand promises, but they're like clouds without rain, right? They just look good, but they don't actually serve anybody. Go check the stats on how few of those ever even get approved, okay? So you want to pay those things off. All right, next question. Is there any way that I can meet with a financial coach every month to help me with being accountable? If so, how much would that cost? You know I love that question. Now, I debated, y'all. When I was putting together these questions that people sent in, I was debating keeping this one in the queue because I didn't want to sound self-serving, but I'm so self-serving. Look, I'm just going to be self-serving for a second, y'all. Yes, the best way to get where you need to go is to have somebody in your life that's going to hold you accountable. I would have been out of debt a lot faster if I'd had somebody in my life holding me accountable. And you know why I didn't have anybody in my life holding me accountable? Because I'd been teaching people how to get out of debt since 1997. I didn't need you helping me accountable. I knew how to do this thing. But you know what I didn't know? I didn't know how greatly impacted my emotions would be by the divorce. And I didn't know how resistant I was going to be to paying off all of that debt. And so for those of you who don't know my story, I came home from a military trip, a 6-month trip, and my ex had sold the house. He had thrown out most of my stuff. He'd moved into this little apartment, and he didn't think I was coming back. And so it's really kind of a squirrely story because on paper, I left him. If you go check the court records, on paper, I left him, and he says he's, just reluctant about the whole thing. But he actually sold our house and threw out my stuff. I don't know how reluctant that is, right? But the thing is, I had to figure out where to live, and I had to get my life cleaned up. And when the dust settled, I found myself that next week with over $845,000 of debt as a single military mom. and I had to find a place to live. And the first difficulty was finding a place to live. When you don't have a place to live is really, really hard because nobody wants to rent to anybody who needs to find a place to live tonight. Even as a landlord, I'm going to be a little sketchy about accepting you as a tenant if you need to find a place tonight, because most people who need to find a place tonight just got evicted. And I'm not trying to have you in my property if you just got evicted. And so that's what I was up against. And that's why I'm a little bit more gracious when people show me that they pay their bills on time and they just had a situation happen, right? So when I was in that situation, okay, and I looked at all this $845,000 of debt, about 120 of it was consumer debt. And some of it was mine and some of it was his. Like, I still don't understand how he got himself listed as the primary on my credit card that I had before I knew him. And I couldn't even close the account, y'all. I couldn't even close the account. It was my account that I had before I knew him. Now, this is a lesson. This is why I teach you to close your credit cards, because I did what a lot of people who think that they are elevated like to say, oh, well, I have a credit card, but I pay it off every month. Yeah, that's how I lived until I went away for 6 months and somebody made themselves primary on my card and maxed it out while I was gone. Okay, so as long as that's out there, it's a liability. And if you want to have that card, you're going to have to make sure you manage that liability, and it takes more work. And I'm all about less work. I'm all about simplifying my life and having more fun, less work. That's the free spirit of me, y'all. I just want to have more fun. I don't want to do all that work. I want to go watch my Steelers win, and I want to have a good time with my family. All right. So what shook me out of reality was about a year or two later, a coworker of mine had just become a financial coach, and she needed to build some hours. And she was like, please let me work with you. I was like, I don't need you to work with me. I've been teaching people how to get out of debt for years. I know how to get out of debt. She's like, please, I just need some hours. I need some real people to work with. I was like, okay, I'll help a friend, right? But what she showed me was I had worked diligently. I mean, hustling, just doing the thing to pay off that consumer debt. And I knocked that stuff out, y'all. I had my military career. I had 3 side businesses. Like, I was unstoppable. But when it came to the other debt, the rest of the debt was real estate debt. So what he had done was he had taken home equity lines against our properties. Back then you could get 125% loans. 125% of the value of your home, the bank would let you take that. And then what he did was he spent that money traveling, appearing to be a big shot, doing all these things. And I didn't really understand what was going on. I mean, I trusted my husband. He used to be a pastor and he was a minister of music, and I just trusted him. And I'm kind of a scientific, literally minded black and white individual anyway. You have to do a whole lot to disrupt my loyalty once it's established. And that may be a fault, but I'm thankful that the Lord has given me that kind of a heart that I can be a blessing to people, because I will forgive them quickly, right? But in this case, I didn't really understand what was going on. And when I realized it, I had intense bitterness and resentment against paying that stuff off, because it wasn't my debt. It wasn't my fault. I didn't get to enjoy any of that money. And it was real estate debt, which we shouldn't have taken. Like, again, I knew that we shouldn't have taken it on, but I trusted my husband, and back then all the real estate gurus talked about debt, and I thought that debt was different from personal debt. So in my mind, I held these things separate. And when my coworker came along and said, let me work with you, please, I need the hours, what she did was she held me accountable. And her holding me accountable showed me the incongruence between what I said I wanted, which is I wanted to make a good life for me and my son, and what my behavior was saying, which is I'm an entitled, spoiled brat who doesn't care about my future because right now I want to feel better. And so I'm spending $500 a month shopping online and buying all the things I haven't been able to have for the last 12 years because of my mean husband, and instead of paying off this debt. Not my fault, not my responsibility. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, what's happened to you in your life may not be your fault. You may have had parents who did not care about you. You may have had family members who have run up debt in your name. You may have had a teenager who snuck out of the house, stole your car, crashed it into a pole. That's not your fault, but it is your life. You still got to deal with it. I was acting like a spoiled little brat and saying, well, this is not my fault. This is not my fault, and it's not my responsibility. And what I want to communicate to you today is whatever happened in your life that brought you to the point where you need help with money and you need to do better with money, it may not have been your fault, but it's your life, it's your responsibility. And so it's your responsibility to make the changes you needed. And if I hadn't sat down with somebody who held me accountable, I'd probably still have all of that debt. Let that sink in for a moment. How many things in your life are still a problem because you're not dealing with them because they weren't your fault? I'm not even just talking about money right now. I'm talking about life, y'all. This is about walking in abundance. This is about living an abundant life. This is about getting everything that we were promised when the Lord said he came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. That's a promise. That's not, well, if the stars align and things just happen and, you're in the right place at the right time, then you might have a good life. Otherwise, it stinks to be you. No. That's not how it works. You create the conditions for abundance by your mindset and the responsibility you take for your life. And by walking with a coach who held me accountable, she was able to uncover my blind spot. And I'm a huge fan of coaching. I'm a huge fan of walking with a coach in your life in the area that you need to overcome. So if you need to overcome in mindset, if you need to overcome in wealth building, if you need to overcome in any area that's related to those, so like maybe you need to improve in your leadership, maybe you need to learn to understand people better, maybe you need to learn how to understand your family better. My Lord, I teach this stuff and I'm still a student of how to understand my husband better. And whatever it is, a coach can help you uncover blind spots and help you move forward to the next level with the answers that are already deep inside you. You just haven't been able to uncover them yet. Now that's coaching, and that's what this question asked about. So yes, if you want some financial coaching, call me, holler at your girl. I'm right here, man. I'm here to help you, and I love helping people win with money, right? But let me just talk a few minutes. We got a few minutes left. I'll probably take one more question, but we've got a few minutes left for this episode. Let me just talk a little bit about the difference between coaching and mentoring, and why I think you need both. Okay, so coaching is where somebody is walking alongside of you, holding you accountable, and asking you the insightful questions to help you uncover your own strengths, your own solutions, and your roadblocks. That's coaching. Coaching is immensely invaluable for helping you to take your life to the next level, because usually what's holding us back is not the physical circumstances of our lives. What was holding me back from getting out of debt wasn't the $845,000. That's a huge number, but the number wasn't the problem. The problem was my mindset, and a financial coach helped unblock the wealth building mindset. She gave me a reset. She uncovered those blind spots. She uncovered what was really going on inside that I hadn't even acknowledged or admitted to myself. That's what a coach does, okay? Now, let's talk about another thing, mentoring. Mentoring is where you grab somebody who's been there, done that, knows the ropes, and can shorten your learning curve by teaching you how to navigate the waters to the level of success that you want. So if you want to do well in a coaching and speaking business, you might find a mentor who can tell you and teach you what you need to do to accelerate your path to success. If you want to bring somebody in that can help you win with money, you want to bring in somebody who can help you walk along that path to success, who can say, don't do this, do this, do this, do that, don't do that. Okay? Coaching and mentoring are two separate things. In fact, I like to think of, so I'm both a financial coach and a financial planner. I like to think of financial coaching as that coaching aspect. I like to think of financial planning as the mentoring. And I combine both. I help you uncover your solutions, your blocks to whatever's going on with your money. And then I also help you strategize and get a no-kidding plan. Here are the dreams. Here's the goals. Here's how you get there. Now, don't call me the queen of cash flow for nothing, y'all. We are going to figure out how to increase your cash flow so you can fund your dreams. But that's where mentorship comes into play. Okay? Mentors also open doors for you, but we don't want to confuse mentors with advocates. Advocates are people who are actively moving and shaking on your behalf. So you really need all three in your life to get where you want to go, if where you want to go involves any level of success. Even if it's nonprofit. So we're not just defining success by millions in the bank, right? Even if it's a nonprofit area, if you want to change the world, let me make up something on the fly here, and that's usually dangerous, but just hang with me for a second, okay? I'm looking at a yard that really needs mowing, and I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not. I'm going to either pay somebody to do it, or I'm going to wait for my husband to do it. I'm just not going to do it, right? But there are people out there that physically cannot mow their lawn. So I'm going to start a nonprofit. I'm going to start a nonprofit today for people who want to mow yards for the elderly or others who are unable to mow their own yard, okay? I want to start a nonprofit for that. And you think, well, I don't need a coach. I don't need a mentor. I don't need an advocate because I'm doing nonprofit work. I'm not trying to make millions. I just want to do good and help people and feel good about myself, which was, a lot of us, if we're honest about it, like if we're just really honest about it, a lot of the times the reason we want to do good is because we actually don't feel that great about ourselves. And that's where a coach comes into play. A coach can help uncover, okay, why is it that you want to do this nonprofit? What is it that you really want out of this? What is it that you're really going to offer? And how do you know people want it? Like those are the kinds of things a coach can do. So you would have a coach to help you really clarify your message and really help you understand where you're going and why you want to do this and clarify that this is really what you want to do to accomplish your goals. Because it may be that you have other goals. I sat down with a nonprofit consultant once, Ben Starling from, I think it's a Southern Philanthropy. And what he does is he's a fundraiser. He helps nonprofits raise funds. And I started to talk to him about how to build the strategic relationships. And he encouraged me to do some research and talk with other nonprofit directors. And when I started talking with them, I was like, I don't really want to be a nonprofit. That's really, I do nonprofit work. Y'all know I'm very active in the community. I'm a pastor and all that stuff, right? But I don't really want to do this. And I went back to him and I was like, please don't be mad at me. I don't want to do this. And he wasn't mad at me. I just saved 5 or 6 years out of my life chasing after something that really didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, which is to change people's lives through empowering them to win with money, okay? And so you want to bring in somebody who can coach and help you clarify your message and make sure that this is what you want to do. Then you would bring in your mentor to show you the ropes. How do you establish a nonprofit? How do you get your 501c3? How do you connect with other people in the community? How do you fundraise? How do you get the word out? How do you get volunteers? What makes your organization attractive to people who want to help your kind of mission? How do you communicate your mission? Like that's what mentoring does, right? And then you would still need an advocate, even in a nonprofit sense, because nothing happens in our world without relationships. And that advocate is the one that opens the doors for you. That advocate is the one that makes the call for you. So when United Way has their day of giving and they highlight 10 of the 100 charities in your town, the advocate is the one who makes the phone call to make sure you're one of the 10. Okay? So you see how all of this stuff plays together. All right, we got another really, really, really quick question that says, how can I get started? How can I get started on the program? Okay, I'm going to give you the quick version of my program. The very first step is to get intentional about what you want. What do you want with your money? What do you want out of your life? And by intentional, I don't just mean thinking about it, wishing about it, or dreaming about it. I mean, seriously, no kidding, write down, what do you want? And then you put what you want where you see it at least 2 times a day, and every time you see it, you think about what you want. And you walk in the energy of what you want, what life you want, how you want to feel, what it's going to be like to be out of debt, what it's going to be like to travel on vacation and not have to worry about how much money's in the bank. You can just shop and buy everything you want. You see what I like, right? I love to shop, right? So So you walk in that and you set that intention. And then the next thing that you do is you get an emergency fund. You get an emergency fund to help you weather the storm. Because the minute you make up your life that you're going to change, everything in the world comes back to bite you, and it comes to pull you right back down to where you were and even lower. And so by establishing an emergency fund, you're able to weather the storm without going into further debt. And I like to recommend about $1,000, $500 if you're on a extremely low income, and I'd even go up to about $2,000 if you live in a super high cost of living region of the country, right? So the next step is to get that emergency fund together and then aggressively attack debt. Attack debt, attack debt, attack debt. And I don't care what kind of debt it is, and I don't care what you feel like you're missing out on the market. I promise you mathematically, if you will pay off the debt aggressively and then start investing, you are going to come out ahead. I promise you, I've done the analysis, all right? And I've made a video about it somewhere. I got to find that video. I sent somebody to it. I said, hey, it's at the end of my COVID series on investing. I was like, no, that wasn't a video. That was a video on why you should keep investing in the market, even though it's crazy right now. That's a good video too. You want to watch that one, right? But the thing is get rid of the debt. Get rid of the debt. And then we want to focus on building up your savings as well as doing your investing for retirement. And then if you have any kiddos or anybody that you want to sponsor for college or anything that you want to save up for, then we start doing those things. Then you want to pay off your house. And while you're doing all of that, I actually encourage everybody to start looking at what impact they want to have on the world. Because soon and very soon, you're going to find yourself financially independent, and your biggest problem is going to be, how do I give responsibly? What do I do with all this money? Like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do with myself. It's a great problem to have, y'all, and I can't wait for you to be there. All right, well, we're going to wrap this up for today. I'm JJ Conway. I want to thank you so much for being with us on the line. Y'all take care and be blessed.
Love the podcast? Be sure to like, subscribe, and forward to 3 friends. You can ask a question or take a life-changing class at buildingwealthtogether.com. Now, go walk in abundance and leave a legacy.